Stop killing us. A message scrawled on the spot where a woman was sentenced to death for the crime of trying to ride a bike in Denver. It happened in a place the city knows is dangerous, and it wants to improve over the objections of neighbors. Today, the city said it is going ahead with plans to build a protected bike lane starting on that block where the woman was killed by a driver police say was driving carelessly last night. A neighbor leading the community effort against the protected bike lane on South Marion Street Parkway near Wash Park told our Anusha Roy she's not backing down, even after a death outside her door.
Cyclists are still riding down South Marion Street along with cars, but things are not back to normal for Ryan Dillon when he first heard
a scream that kind of gets your attention.
Then saw a woman who was cycling in a bike lane had been hit.
We tried to do tourniquets with our t-shirts and just keep her comfort and hope for the best.
Denver police say the cyclist died.
Just holding her and talking to her, trying to keep her, coherent.
This morning, Denver Public Works said what happened to her highlights why it is so important to move ahead with plans to turn the current bike lanes along South Marion Street into protected ones. It's in an area the city says had close to 40 vehicle crashes in the last 5 years.
Last night's incident just signifies the need for us to just be more aggressive.
The city's mission is to save lives, but said when it comes to making changes, it's important to listen to people, including those who started a petition, worried changes along the parkway could disrupt the area's feel that has a historic designation.
This is the way Denver is, and this is where we operate.
I thought it was so sad and tragic.
Patsy Brown helped start the petition and said she still sticks by her concerns.
Our main goal is to preserve and protect this parkway.
But within reason.
I would say go ahead and make whatever changes you need to make to ensure the safety of pedestrians, bikers, and the people driving cars. Just follow the historical guidelines so that we don't lose that.
A total of 8 spots are set to get bike lane upgrades funded through a voter-approved bond. As for South Marion Street, the city plans to share the designs in the fall and hopes to start construction next year.
So people are still driving and riding by that message that says another slain cyclist. When we talked to Denver police earlier today, they did say that the driver has been cited for careless driving that resulted in a death. But they said at this point that investigation is still going on. So Kyle, they really couldn't weigh in on if a protected bike lane would have made a difference. They're still putting together that crash report.
Certainly no way to tell in any specific instance, but they'd identified that as a trouble spot. All right, thank you, Anusha. Denver's Vision Zero plan for traffic safety currently has a bit of a blind spot for scooters. The city is about to make scooters' presence permanent, so it's trying to improve safety for riders in the short term. The city is going to take away 20 vehicle parking spaces around downtown and create new parking areas for scooters and bicycles. Scooters are allowed to ride in bike lanes and in streets right now. They can be on the sidewalks as well, but only if they're going slow, 6 miles per hour or less. This summer, Denver's also going to do a trial for scooters in parks and on bike trails. If we are going to make Denver streets safer for everyone, whether you drive, bike, or walk, we need to acknowledge something that is both obvious and uncomfortable. You don't own the street in front of your home. We, the public, own the street in front of your home and my home. Our streets is more than just a protest cry. That's a factual statement. Our streets belong to everyone, so that everyone can get from here to there with as little fear of being killed as possible. I get that people like living on pretty streets. Arguing for aesthetic appeal while bodies are being lifted off the pavement is a bad look, and it's a worse argument. I also love Denver's history, but not more than your life or mine. The people arguing that making our streets safer ruins our history need to be honest. They're not really arguing for historical preservation. They're asking for the preservation of the present, because this is the history of South Marion Street Parkway, a dirt street, a horse and a carriage, a drainage ditch down the center. I don't hear the people fighting the protected bike lanes there calling for cars to be banned or calling for parking to be eliminated, all in the name of history. No, they just don't want any more accommodations for cyclists. These preservationists of the present want the status quo, not history. The status quo that makes it all too easy for drivers to kill our neighbors. You're the governor of Colorado for the day, one day, today. What do? Call up the National Guard to clean your house? Invade New Mexico? Fix our super ugly state logo? Senate President Leroy Garcia has not done any of those things while he has been governor today. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger has been watching.
Therefore, I, Leroy M. Garcia, acting governor of the state of Colorado, do hereby proclaim.
What would be your first act as acting governor of Colorado?
I said, here's your chance, Leroy. Ready to make Pueblo the capital of Colorado?
Well, governor for a day, Leroy Garcia is in Pueblo.
Moving up in the world, acting governor.
He's not signing over the gold dome to the Steel City.
The release of the USS Pueblo would be a significant good faith gesture in an effort to improve relationships.
He did, however, sign 2 proclamations.
It is the only U.S. military vessel held by a foreign government.
One recognizing the USS Pueblo, the other designating the end of August Colorado State Fair Week. Unlike the actual governor, neither were signed with a fancy pen engraved with his name on the side.
Those Sharpie markers work pretty well.
Also, unlike the actual governor, Garcia got to tool around today without extra security.
I'm a pretty simple person. I like to drive myself places and get where I need to go and run a military schedule. So I don't know that the State Patrol could meet those demands.
Even though Governor Polis is just a phone call away while at the National Governors Association meeting in Salt Lake City, Garcia was given governor-level briefings yesterday and today.
Areas where there might be issues of concern if you had to call in the Colorado National Guard or declare a state of emergency.
Since his role is more ceremonial, instead of making Pueblo the capital,
to make sure that he's ready for this chili competition if and when it comes about, we're going to leave him with some Pueblo chili.
Garcia made a few culinary stops to bring Pueblo to the capital.
Well, don't get recalled. I won't. That I won't.
That's one more difference between being governor and acting governor. Garcia is not facing a potential recall.
I might just go up there and get a selfie in the chair.
In Pueblo, for Next, I'm Marshall Zellinger.
Acting Governor Garcia says that Polis' staff planned ahead, so they knew that the day's events didn't need Garcia to be up at the Capitol in Denver, though he did tell us he was considering coming up just to move around the furniture in the governor's office. City of Fountain and the town of Monument are on record now against Colorado's national popular vote law. That's no surprise, because Monument's mayor, Don Wilson, is one of the ones leading the petition effort to have all of us in Colorado vote on that change the Democrats made to how our electoral votes might be awarded in the future. They say they have plenty of signatures, and it would force the first such referendum on a passed bill in decades. Our next question comes from a viewer named EJ. He asks, what happens when the Electoral College ends in a tie? EJ was using this interactive map online when the question came to him. Now, it's rare for a presidential race to end in a tie, but it can happen. It has happened. If no candidate gets a majority, House of Representatives would pick the president. Here's how that would work. Each state delegation would get one vote that could be cast for one of the 3 candidates with the most electoral votes. If the House couldn't come to a decision, failed to elect a president by Inauguration Day, the vice president would serve as an acting president until the deadlock is resolved. So Marshall mentioned Republicans are trying to recall Governor Jared Polis. The signing of the national popular vote law is one of the big reasons why. But a new survey from a Republican-leaning polling firm out of Louisville shows that the voters they talked to would not recall Polis, even though they think that Democrats overreached in this past legislative session. Magellan Strategies talked to 500 Colorado voters for this new poll. 45% felt that Polis and Democrats in the legislature overreached this past session. 40% didn't think so. The survey included a question on whether they would recall Polis, and 47% said no. What some are calling a piece of history, the owner of Tom's Diner on Colfax calls simple nostalgia and his retirement plan. He's fighting the recommendation from the city's Landmark Preservation Committee to call his building historic. That would prevent its demolition after a sale. Now we've learned the two sides are talking behind the scenes, trying to see if they could come up with a private agreement that would pause this historic designation process. Tom told our Katie Eastman he wishes he didn't have to talk about this at all.
This is the life.
Right, Romeo?
Time with his dog and kids. The life that Tom Messina has been saving for.
You know, the carrot at the end of the American dream?
The dream began 20 years ago when he bought this diner for $800,000. A 24-hour Colfax institution that Tom is ready to step away from.
Chilling on the side.
He has a $4.8 million offer from a developer to tear the diner down and build an 8-story apartment complex.
I feel that I've earned it, and I feel that it is my right as a property owner to be able to move on and do as I choose.
But that classic diner look, well, that might take away Tom's dream. The city's Landmark Preservation Commission is recommending historic designation for the building because of its Googie-style architecture.
But it's sort of a roadside architecture, really born out of California, really fun and playful as people were coming back after World War II and driving their cars more. You see it all across the country, but we don't have very many examples left in Denver.
If it gets the designation, a developer couldn't demolish it. Tom says that would cut what he can sell it for in half.
To think that what I've planned and worked for all my life could now kind of be decided by people that haven't worked it and put in the time and the sweat equity.
Tom is talking with Historic Denver to try to come up with a plan that everyone likes. But everyone weighing in on selling his restaurant wasn't part of the plan 2 decades ago.
At what point does brick and mortar outweigh the human element?
For Next, I'm Katie Eastman.
City Council is supposed to make the final decision on what happens to Tom's Diner in August. There's a City Council committee that would have to pass it along before that. But knowing that the two sides are talking, that they were negotiating as early as this morning, anything could happen. So we'll keep you updated. Why do other planets' moons have cool names, but ours is just the moon?
We were worried that Mooney McMoonface would be the winner, and that wasn't going to fly with us.
They don't want him to hit your car, so they blow it up. Not a new idea, but pretty wild to watch. A man who had less than most is leaving a great impact.
He was so approachable. A stranger coming up here could just sit right down there and Larry would start talking.
We remember everyone's friend, Larry Gibbs, next.
Not as hot today, and now some beneficial rain coming down. Unless you're traveling through the I-70 corridor, a brief heavy downpour kind of stopping traffic, and we're seeing a lot of traffic on I-25 this hour. The storms are not severe. Temperatures have been ranging between the upper 80s and low 90s, and that trend will continue right into the weekend. Storm movement from the northwest to the east-southeast with some heavy rain over Denver, Ken Carroll, and Highlands Ranch. Storm will be out of here in about 20 minutes' time. There's a lot of thunder, lightning, and wind on the far southeastern plains, and the threat for flooding rain in the southern foothills and mountains under a flash flood watch for the evening. So that drive from Pueblo down to Trinidad will be a tough one tonight and tomorrow. And we do expect a warmer, drier day tomorrow. Not only is it Friday, but it will be a beautiful day. There will be some foothill showers and storms for those hiking and biking. Lows tonight in the mid-60s. The showers and storms move out between now and 8. Sunny and 91 tomorrow. Slight chance of a storm on Friday. A better chance Saturday. Cooler and dry on Sunday, and then low to mid-90s. Hot highs for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And a great clash of seasons here from Carroll. A stormy night in Fort Collins, Kyle.
Kathy, thank you. So, you know, we're a full-service question and answer shop around here. So when a viewer wrote in wondering about a weirdo cloud near the San Juans, we didn't ask what he was smoking. We just showed it to meteorologist Kylie Burse.
I always love a good cloud picture, and this was cool because I actually hadn't seen something like this either. So I called the National Weather Service in Boulder, and what it looks like this is fog that started over the lake actually ended up getting pushed up against the slope by some upslope wind. So wind that travels up the side of a mountain, you kind of see that air is almost saturated right near the surface there. So very cool picture. Vince, thanks for sending it in, and for all of us, we got to learn something new.
Yeah, that is super trippy. Hey, CDOT, is often doing rockfall mitigation along I-70. Rare for us to get this good of a look at it. I mean, that's pretty wild. They brought down literally tons of rock near Palisade today. The Jefferson County Public Library, of all organizations, is leading a charge to name the moon. Makes sense. I mean, stars get names, planets get names, even other planets' moons have names. The Jeffco Library thinks they've come up with the perfect one, and they have a petition.
Our first idea was Jeff with a J for Jefferson County because we are the Jefferson County Public Library. And then it kind of evolved into Jeff, Geoff.
He's just one man, but next video editor Jeff likes the idea.
Most of the Jeff comments, it's mostly strong name or, duh. Somebody wrote duh. Jeff wrote, this is obvious.
The library picked the name for a reason.
Jeff is a mnemonic device. It stands for Earth's fickle friend. The G-O stands for Earth. F is for fickle, and the last F is for friend. So Jeff is Earth's fickle friend.
Not everyone sees Jeff as a friend.
We've had some pretty funny comments. One of my favorites is from a woman whose ex-boyfriend was named Jeff. So she was very upset that we were naming it after her ex-boyfriend.
Ma'am, the moon is not about your issues.
We kindly recommended a book to her about breakups and moving on, and hopefully that would help her.
And we wish her the best. The library started the Moon petition to get some attention for its space-themed summer reading program. I'm not sure that it's really going to move the needle because at this point, just 100 people have signed on to a moon named Jeff. Larry Gibbs was one of those people who are in plain sight, yet often ignored because they're homeless. But Larry was not invisible, not to his neighbors in Golden. They noticed him there, and they noticed him gone.
We've had traffic jams out here, 2, 3, 4 cars stopping here. What happened to Larry? Everybody is going to miss the presence of Larry. Do you know Larry? Yeah, well, he passed on the 20th. Shocking to everybody, that's for sure. So we kind of put a memorial together for him, and this was Larry's spot. You know, he sat here all the time. And I guess I really shouldn't say that he was homeless, because he had a home. Everybody here in Golden was his family and his friends. He always just was so happy to have somebody sit there and talk to him.
Yeah.
Everybody knew Larry. He was 50 years old, and that he's been here since for 30 years. You could pass by and be in a really bad mood, and you just sit here and talk to him. He had like a Zen-like quality. You expect to see him. I expect to look out the window. You know, you think, where's Larry? You know, and he's just not going to be here anymore. So it's going to be a big loss for everybody that walks by. We're really going to miss him.
Larry Gibbs will be laid to rest next Thursday. His service will be open to the public. It starts at 1 p.m. on Thursday at Golden First United Methodist. Stack of feedback tonight about cyclist safety in the city of Denver and what is happening with the South Marion Street Parkway. Allison B. writes in, after almost being hit by multiple cars on that corner street, terrified me to learn what happened yesterday. She writes, makes me sad our neighbors would rather keep the look of the parkway than protect cyclists from drivers not paying attention. Joel says maybe if bicyclists followed the laws of the road, there would not be as many casualties. Joel, I hope you have the same attitude every time you hear about a car crash that harms somebody. And finally, Kyle writes in to say, roads are for motorized vehicles. Bicycles should never have been allowed on roadways. Yep, Kyle, that explains why we didn't have any roads before we had cars. See you next time.